Welcome back to the Law and Crime Network. I'm Heather Hansen. We continue to watch clips of the medical examiner testifying on direct examination in the case of Florida versus Donald Smith. I'm fortunate enough to have Andell Brown here with me to watch this horrifying testimony. The medical examiner has faltered a couple times in her testimony, but there you really saw her almost break, Andell. What do you think brought that on? Is it just that this case is so absolutely horrific, or do you think that it was something else?
I think if we watch the testimony closely, Heather, we will notice that it's at the point where she kind of has to put a name to what she's doing and identify the person that's involved. Cherish, who Periwinkle, who experienced such a tragic event, when it becomes more personal to her, and I think that's reflected in her demeanor, and we see her kind of have to take a moment and try to hold it together as she testifies. She's trying to do her job and be the professional that she's trained to be over years and years and years, but even she's having a difficult time of it.
Yeah, it's. I think that you're right. I think that by attaching a name, and there was some issue with the spelling of the name as between the stepfather and someone else, and that's sort of where you started to see her falter. And then as she continued to have to get up there and tell this terrible story, you saw her sort of continue to break down a little bit. Do you think, Andell, that when the prosecution rests, which they've got maybe 5 witnesses at most, and they've been moving very quickly through these witnesses, do you think the defense will put on a case in the liability portion? And if so, what could it be?
That's tough to predict at this point because I really am not sure what the defense is doing here or what their plan is. So it's tough for me to say what's coming next because some of the things I've already seen have left me totally confused and bewildered. I would expect that they would put on a case because they kind of have to. They have to somehow soften the blow that's been dealt to them by the prosecution's case. The prosecution's case is very heavy with evidence. It's heavy with facts, and defense better do something or Donald Smith is going to go straight to execution. Do not pass go, do not collect $200. So the defense is going to have to do something, and they're going to have to do it quickly.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see if and what they put anything on. If you were the defense attorney, given what's happened so far in the case, and given the fact that it looks as though the defendant took you out at the knees right after the openings, after you promised to do something, would you be not putting on a defense in the liability phase and the guilt phase, and instead saving all of your ammunition and all of your argument and all of your credibility with the jury for the penalty phase?
Look, whatever credibility you may or may not have with the jury, I think it's your obligation to put on an adequate defense. So regardless of whether this person is innocent or guilty, you have a professional obligation and a standard to uphold. And I think the defense has to do everything that they think is in the best interest of this case, even when their client is difficult, even when their client may not be working in their own best interest. You still have the professional duty to do that.
Yeah, it's just we sometimes defense attorneys are excoriated for what they do. They're labeled, they're insulted. I know a lot of people took issue with Larry Nassar's attorney, that female defense attorney, for defending what they framed it to be a monster. But it's part of our system. It's part of our legal system to have an adequate defense. And if you want the legal system to work, you have to have defense attorneys out there. And here, this defense attorney, this team has one of the most difficult jobs I've ever seen. Have you ever seen a case that you would less like to defend, Andell?
Well, you mentioned Larry Nassar. It's kind of a toss-up. I don't know which one.
Yeah,
but, I would probably have to go with this one as being, probably one of the most difficult cases I've seen to defend, not only because of the horrific nature of the allegation, but it just seems like the proof of guilt is overwhelming here. It doesn't leave a lot of places for the defense to go. I think as a defense attorney in our adversarial system where we have prosecutors, we have defense lawyers, and we believe that to get the best results, we should have both sides doing the best they can. And I think that's a unique and a very special part of the American justice system. And you use everything that the evidence can show to go in the direction of your side. If you're a defense attorney, whatever the evidence shows that leans towards innocence, you have an obligation to use that. But here, there just doesn't seem to be a lot for the defense to work with.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. You know, this case being a death penalty case, I think, is putting even more of a burden on the defense attorneys here, and they just don't have any hand to play. Let's continue to watch the direct examination of the medical examiner in this case, and then I'm going to talk to Andell before we get to the cross-examination of the medical examiner. Again, very short. We are waiting for the jury to come back from their lunch break. We're expecting that to happen at around 1:30. When it does, we will bring you live to the courtroom. But in the meantime, we're going to watch the end part of the direct examination of the medical examiner, Dr. Rao, and then come back with Andell one last time before we end the break.
Okay, so it's the
So, Andell, this one's
neck
kind of long.
dissection
It's,
that we refer to. Anterior, which means front, neck dissection, where you have layer by layer of muscle that is dissected, looking for injury as a result of the strangulation.
And what injury did you see?
So she had hemorrhage into the skeletal muscle, the muscles that lie right across, right here. And if you turn your neck, you have muscles right here. So she had bleeding into some of those muscles.
Do you also collect clothing from the body when the body comes to the medical examiner's office?
Yes.
May the witness step down, Your Honor?
She may.
Dr. Rao, let me show you what's been marked for identification as states why. Did you look at the packaging of this this morning for your testimony? Yes. And did you identify this as the dress that Sheriff Periwinkle was wearing? Her body was transferred to the medical examiner's office. Yes. Is this in fact the same packaging from the medical examiner's office from which this dress was originally packaged? Yes. May I publish to the jury?
You may.
I'll tender this. States quadruple Y as the next number exhibit.
Any objection? No. All right, triple Y, or quadruple Y, I'm sorry, would be States Exhibit 84.
Now, in this case, did you also go to the police memorial building to photograph Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Do you see Mr. Smith in court today?
Yes.
Will you please point him out and identify an article of clothing he's wearing?
Right there, he's wearing a tan-colored shirt and a checked tie.
Is he seated at a table between two lawyers?
Yes.
May the record reflect that the witness, Dr. Rao, has identified the defendant, Donald Smith?
The record will so reflect.
And will you explain to the jury for what purpose you went to the police memorial building?
Yes, so after he...
Let me interrupt you real quickly. I should have asked you, on what date did you go to the police memorial building?
On the 22nd of June, 2013.
Approximately what time did you arrive there?
I can't recall.
Okay. And did you, I may have
I
already
think
asked
it was
you
in the
this.
afternoon.
Okay. Did you also direct photography be taken of Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Okay. Dr. Rao, let me direct you to your monitor again. States 89. Does this photograph reflect what Mr. Smith was wearing and what he looked like when you went to the police memorial building on June 22nd, 2013?
Yes.
Let me direct your attention to States 93. Is this a true and accurate photograph of the jeans and the shoes he was wearing?
Yes.
States 94, same question.
Welcome back to Law and Crime, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Heather Hansen, and we are seeing movement in the courtroom as we prepare for the afternoon in the Donald Smith case. We brought you right back as soon as we did, and there we see the back of Donald Smith's head as we get ready for the afternoon and what could be some interesting testimony. We anticipate hearing something about, if not from, some of the courtroom people. But this man is being sworn in, and while he does, I want to thank you, Andell Brown, for your wonderful help this afternoon. Hopefully we'll see you here again soon.
Have a good day.
You too, Andell. And now live to the courtroom.